music, dance, and creative writing with New Orleans history and culture. Plus, field trips, guest artists, and camper showcases. With full-day programming before and after care and sessions starting June 9th, it's the perfect fit for working parents. Fun, enriching, unforgettable. Register now at beyondthestagellc.com/campart and follow us on social media at Beyond the Stage LLC.
Have you heard the secret of what New Orleans is talking about? I promise everything will be okay if you're listening here on the airwaves. It's that WBOK 12:30 a.m.
From the campus of Xavier University, WBOK Go and Equity Media Station.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is calling the Obama Presidential Center a disaster, blaming cost overruns on hiring woke workers.
And he said something to the effect, I only want DEI, I only want woke. He wants woke people to build it. Well, he got woke people, and they have massive cost overruns.
He claimed construction has stopped due to a lawsuit. The Obama Foundation denied the claim, saying the project remains on track for a 2026 opening. The Federal Reserve wraps up a two-day meeting today with a decision on interest rates. The central bank is widely expected to hold its benchmark short-term borrowing rate steady. And a jury is expected to be seated today in the Sean Diddy Combs sex crimes trial. The embattled rapper and business mogul is facing life in prison on several charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering in New York City. Prosecutors allege he threatened and coerced women for sex. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
It's now time for Let's Elevate, the Arnie and Cary Show with Arnie Filko and Cary Grant.
Good evening, everyone. This is Cary Grant. Arnie Felko's out of town at this point, and he will be back next week. Tonight, I'm riding solo, but riding with a friend. Kalisha Garrett's here. We're going to have a great discussion about some of the things that she's involved in. Kalisha, would you talk about your background first, and for the listening audience? I'm sure a lot of people know you, and what you're doing now, and the organization you're working for currently.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate you all having me to come in this evening. I'm looking forward to having this lively conversation with you. Just a little bit about the background. You and I actually worked together a number of years ago here in city government prior to Mitch Landrieu coming into office. And then throughout that time frame, just looking at different organizations with regards to our local regional Black chamber here.
Right.
And then subsequently starting the Louisiana Chamber of Commerce Foundation, of which I'm the vice president and chief operating officer of now. And so that's a statewide organization, nonprofit, that is focused on helping to sustain and grow chambers of commerce around the state. That includes providing foundational support, assisting them with board governance, helping them with marketing and understanding the operations of a chamber, but also how to advocate on behalf of small businesses. And so that is the key point to what we do from the chamber's perspective, is actually looking at our small business growth across Louisiana and helping them to have organizations that can assist them with that.
And as you said, across Louisiana, I think everybody's heard the commercials here about the chamber and the like. And you talked about it a little bit before we went on air, but in the bigger cities, we only have a few big cities in Louisiana, but there's a lot of cities in Louisiana that need this kind of help.
So we have 64 parishes, and throughout them, some cities, some townships, and within them, we have 10 affiliates that we work directly with. One locally here with the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, but also in Shreveport and Monroe and Lafayette, as well as in Baton Rouge and Alexandria, Monroe, in Houma, Thibodeau area, and in Feliciana and Washington parishes. And so, in Jefferson Parish as well. What we do with them is, because things are local when it comes to business growth, industry, sectors, as well as some of the needs of the community.
Right.
And what we would like to do is have each of those organizations be able to focus on the things that are germane to that area, and understanding how that industry will impact the longevity of the economics within the area. And so what happens in Shreveport is different than what happens
Yeah.
in Lake Charles or in Monroe. And some of those now that we are talking about are having massive expansions in
Yes.
economic development
Yeah.
that are historical, and they have not seen these types of industries before. So now is the perfect time for small business to get engaged with your local chambers. There are various different types of chambers, so ones that can help specifically with your type of business, or some that can help specifically with the policy needs that your business would benefit from.
Right.
And so we encourage people that are starting small businesses, that maybe work for a small business, or that are looking to become business owners, even
Right.
students. We're working with students in universities across Louisiana on internship opportunities and looking at
Sure.
opportunities for them to work with small business. But yeah, the focus of the chamber is maybe it's threefold. One being that chamber support on the front end. The second, focusing directly on providing technical assistance through webinars and in-person seminars that are industry specific for business owners to help them
Yes.
with their back office or financial readiness, marketing, succession planning, and things of that nature. And the third focus that we have is in economic development, where we are working through agriculture sectors. And so we are building buildings that will house small businesses and incubators, one that's going to be coming up in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We also are renovating existing buildings and placing them into the agriculture through aquaponics industry. One we just recently renovated and opened this past January with the support of Congressman Troy A. Carter. In the second congressional district, he provided some funds to us to be able to open Louisiana's largest aquaponic farming system, which is a little bit different from your
Yes.
traditional farming. And
Absolutely.
it's something that we looked at. What are some of the new industries that we could
people
get
can get
into,
into, yes.
right, and
Yes.
start looking at ways that we can diversify workforce opportunities, but also do something that hits close to home. And as we all have seen, we've been thrust into tariffs that may be impacting our access to local food. We've also noticed that in areas where there are food deserts or you have access to food, the food may not be grown locally here. And so, what we've looked at is a way that you can now grow food on water, so aquaponically,
Yes.
not in soil,
Right.
inside of a controlled environment within a greenhouse, and be able to produce locally, thus reducing your food miles and increasing the nutritional value of the food that's coming to your table.
Right. And one thing you mentioned that I talk a lot about in private life and private issues, as well as on the radio, is the thing of having business acumen and passing on big business acumen. We'll go to your 3 points, but since you brought it up, I want to really talk about that for a moment. That is one thing, particularly in the Black community. We don't have generational wealth all the time. We have a great entrepreneurial spirit, though. I
Correct.
mean, lots of people want to be business people, but it is a real thing. You have to learn. And what you said about those incubators and those teaching
classes.
webinars and classes, could you elaborate on that a little bit? Because that is
Yes.
very important.
Absolutely. And so, as a nonprofit, we are grant funded. And
Yeah.
so, we have some direct funding that comes to us, and we will write for grants that provide specific types of training. And so, with that, those businesses that participate do not pay for their participation. So,
Okay.
that's one
That's
value.
great.
The second is many of them are offered as a webinar. So if they are at work or if they are at home and they're not able to come into a center, they're able to log in and
Yeah.
participate. And so getting that information, being able to understand back office operation.
Right.
Oftentimes, I used to say this in the past, we could have the best carpenter, but if that carpenter knows that skill and does not have the time to sit down to understand the credit and debit component
Right.
of the banking
Yes.
facilitation or looking at invoices, contracts. We
Yes.
have legal individuals that come on and share some of the important parts of a contract to protect the business entity.
Right.
We have people that come on and talk about organizational structure, how this business should be set up, whether it's an S corp or an LLC.
Right.
The difference
Which
in
is very
between
important.
having these things
Yes.
can change your bottom line from a profitability standpoint, but also how you set up the organization from a board
Right.
perspective versus having members in an LLC or having a joint venture in partnership. And so those are the types of classes that we provide. And many of this information, much of this information can be found on the website. They can definitely go to, and it is Louisiana Chamber Foundation, and it's lachamberfoundation.org, O-R-G. And that information can be found there so that the businesses can kind of navigate through their needs. All
Yes.
business is not equal.
Right.
We do have people that have been in generational businesses, but they may not have known that they should
Should
do
be doing
X,
something
right?
else, right.
And so
Right.
oftentimes we have people that have been in business for a decade or so that are coming in, and they are very grateful for the opportunity to be able to have someone to share this information with them, but more so our team is able to provide one-to-one services for them.
That's very
And
important.
so a lot of time people do not want to talk about, what's happening in their
happening with their
business
business,
in
right.
front of a crowd of people.
Yeah.
And so we respect that. And we do want to be able to direct them. If we do not have the resource to provide for them, we do have partner organizations that we work with, and we want to direct them. The end goal is for us to have successful, thriving businesses that can then hire individuals from the community and can either leave that business as a legacy in their family or have it acquired
By someone else.
by
right.
someone else,
Yeah.
and they can go on and start another business, or they can retire. This is a capitalist society, and we know that in order for individuals to be able to get ahead, we have to understand the goal at hand. And a lot of times people say that they have a vision or they have something that they want to do, but they don't write it down. The importance of putting it down on paper, it holds you accountable to what you are actually trying to achieve. And so once you see that, it also allows you to see if there is a stumbling block, we can clearly identify it, reduce the inefficiencies,
Yeah.
and automate or provide solutions so that you can get to the next level or reach that goal.
And those are great resources because, as I said, lots of people have the idea, the moxie for running a business or doing something, like you said, particular trade or something like that, but they are not a good manager of their money or a good manager of their accounts or whatever, and which is the purpose of being in a business. Nobody's in a business for
It's a
charitable,
fail. Right, exactly.
whatever, unless you just feel like doing that, but you want to make a profit, you want to be successful.
And personalities. We are a cultural community, right?
Yes.
Many artists or musicians.
Sure. Yes.
They
Perfect
are
example.
passionate
Yes.
about what the talent that they have. I wish I had an nth of it, in my pinky to be able to do it. But they are passionate about it, and we want them to be able to actualize and maximize the value in what they're doing. And sometimes it's not that they have to manage the organization. They may need to have a management
Manager,
organization come in to help them to run the business side of it, right?
Yes.
And so it's things like that where I know a few years ago, particularly coming out of COVID, there was a lot of conversation about the gig economy and how we could help. And there are some organizations here regionally that have programs that are focused on that. I encourage individuals to look for these resources. These programs do still exist, even though we're fighting for funding.
Yes.
They do still exist, and they are there with a purpose in mind to help to alleviate stressors around business operations. You don't have to do it all. As a matter of fact, if you are doing it all, you will have a short-lived business, or you will stymie the growth of that business. It's often better for you to have individuals that you can either consult with or bring them on as team members and provide them with the opportunity to do the tasks that you are hiring them for. Don't micromanage.
Yeah.
Allow them to be able to bring solutions to you. The best thing about sitting around a table when you talk about your organization is having individuals there that know things that you don't know. Because if they only know what you know, you're not going to see any growth. That is a clearest example of how we got into diversifying boardrooms and diversifying C-suite executives. If everybody sitting around the table looked alike and they came from the same background, you would not know how to handle any issues or look at any changes.
And you get no pros and cons to any issue. You basically, it's an echo chamber, which is a lot of what we're dealing with in America right now.
Yes, that part.
Well, and I'll segue into a small piece of this, and then we'll go back to the agricultural part. But you mentioned funding, and I know all organizations, everybody has to be very much aware of legislation that's being passed in Congress to cut back on funding, not just the cutbacks that are talked about, but like active funding cutbacks that will become codified so that organizations and nonprofits get nothing.
Exactly.
Basically, I mean, I don't want to say they get less, they get nothing.
It is a blanketed attack on what we have come to know as business as usual.
Yeah.
And there is nothing that's sacred and nothing that's protected right now. And so what we have started to share with many organizations and things that we are doing ourselves, and thankfully we have done this over the years, is to diversify the way that you are operating your organization and having different types of offerings. And as I shared earlier, there are three different pillars that we focus on. And then within those, there are various different opportunities for us to be able to engage with whomever that target market is, whether it is our corporate partners or philanthropic organizations or governmental entities or, federal organizations that we can request from. But what I do want to say is don't be fooled. That money is not being spent.
Yeah.
There are ways for organizations to obtain access to funding. What you have to do is look at what's being funded. Understanding how to have your organization provide a solution to what an identified concern or problem or lack of is, right? So what's missing? And some of those things we talked about prior to the show coming on, understanding the industries that the state is moving into, that we are embracing. We used to be hospitality and tourism focused, right? Now we are transitioning back to historical, where we were oil and gas. Now we're talking liquid natural gas and carbon sequestration and energy and other types of conservation. Right. There are other industry subsets that are coming in, AI and automation, right? Understanding what does that look like in the areas where some of these industries and plants are being placed. What does that community look like in the surrounding area, and what does the workforce look like? Those are opportunities. And whether it's an opportunity for an up-and-coming senior to go to a technical college and get a certificate that can then put them in head of household income, or it's an opportunity for an eighth grader that has a patent idea that can identify something to automate and be utilized in an AI factory. Like those opportunities are endless at this point. And I think that what we want to do is start to have people streamline their focus, but focus in the industry expansion. And so you're not all over the place, but you're looking at the things that are coming out, the announcements that are being made through our economic development department for the state of Louisiana, looking at things that are happening in your backyard, corporations that are moving in, what's being downsized and what's being renovated or changed into a different industry sector.
Get in front of that early, because what you're saying is to basically narrowcast instead of broadcast.
Correct.
And to tie the person to the new industry and that type of thing. The idea of being unemployed or not having a job set is, in a lot of ways in Louisiana, is about the job skills not being there.
Correct.
And some of those job skills aren't as hard to get as they were once in the past. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
New Orleans, are you ready? A fresh voice in the city is here, bringing you the beats, the culture, and the stories that matter. From local music and food to real talk on what's happening in the streets, we've got you covered. Stay tapped in. Follow us on all platforms at WBOK 1230 for the latest updates and exclusive content. Your city, your culture, your news. Don't just hear about it, be about it. Follow us at WBOK 1230 now.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do every Monday. It's Movie Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
On the next edition of The Way Forward, we continue the Advancing Southeast Louisiana series with the Chancellor of River Parishes Community College, Quentin Taylor. Plus, I'll share good news on the What's Good segment, the Go Forward motivation, and introduce a new segment, Need to Know. Join me Saturday at 3 p.m. It's The Way Forward with Eddie Francis here on 1230 AM or streaming live at WBOK1230.com and the Play Old app on WBOK What New Orleans is Talking About.
WBOK online at WBOK1230.com.
The Arnie and Cary Show with Arnie Philco and Cary Grant.
And we are back. This is Cary Grant. I have a great guest tonight, Kalisha Garrett. Arnie's off tonight. If you want to call in, the number is 504-582-9422. We were talking about particularly the connecting funding, money, and ideas with the jobs and knowing what the market is becoming in Louisiana. One thing about the brain drain that they always talk about here, and one thing about the loss of population is because of those very things. You made some great points about even from the high school level, we can tap into that. So if you could elaborate on that just a little bit more, that's very important.
Absolutely. And actually, we are, I think, one of the first times to have increased in population. But some of the reasons why some of those increases in populations are occurring is the exact thing that you just said.
Yeah.
We have industries that are coming into Louisiana. They're putting their flag in the ground. They're putting their money. They're investing in the communities, and they are creating industries that many of the children and adults in the community are not even aware of what those industries provide. And oftentimes people are change averse, no matter what demographic background, what age group you are. People oppose change, and not knowing is a form of change. It's a fear factor, right? Like, so what do they do there? And I'll never be able to get a job there, or the discouragement that's there. And I really want to encourage people to actually open and expand their thought process around what some of these organizations are doing. I had an opportunity to participate on a panel probably a couple of months ago with one of our public service commissioners, and we were talking about opportunities in the energy sector.
Yeah.
And there were lawyers, student lawyers that were there. There were student nurses that were there, and they were like, well, how can we participate? Because this is more chemistry, engineering. And the corporate individuals that were there, they said, no, we have on-site healthcare. We need legal teams.
Right.
So there are opportunities.
They're building plants, which is a city.
It's a
Basically,
small city. And it's even from supplies, from lawn care maintenance, from safety, from signage. There, IT. automation. There are ample types of opportunities within these organizations. And even though there has been some discouragement around identifying particular business subsets to do supplying produce, or I mean production, or obtaining different types of supplies from, many of these organizations are still being intentional about doing so.
Right.
And so there are outreach events for small business, and it is open to the public. So we are encouraging small businesses, again, to look at those announcements that are coming out. Stay tuned into your municipality's economic development office and look at some of the things, some of the contracts that are coming out, and identify who some of the corporates are that have been awarded the main contract, so that you can get in touch with their procurement team and identify what types of supplies are needed. But more so than that, as we are looking at new industries and things to speak with our children about, right? Or adults that may be in an industry and they want to learn something new. The technical colleges and universities are providing short-term certificate programs. There are industry-based credentials that are done specific for certain types of corporations that have a widget or a machine that calls for a particular type of job set. It's likened to what we knew in the days of apprenticeships, right? Like with electricians or plumbers, when they would have the journeymen come on and they train under them. These corporates are working directly with some of the technical colleges and institutions to put on short-term certificate programs so that they can hire immediately, but then you can grow into the types of other opportunities within within the facility.
I wanted to mention that too, and you're going to the right place, but I just wanted to fine point it. People have to understand that you don't make $1 billion investment and say, I'm going to have 5,000 workers to make my profit margin, which you've already figured out.
Exactly.
And I have 4,000 workers. That doesn't really make it for me. And I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
I want to fill all my jobs. And you're also pointing out that when you have the right credentials, when you seek out the right credentials, you don't have to worry about if you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic, or if you're wherever. That's what they're looking for. They're 100%. When you're trying to make money to, like you said, to build a certain thing, to provide energy, to dig out natural gas and refine it, you really aren't looking at that. You're looking at who can do it.
There are multiple port development projects going on within a 100-mile radius of Orleans Parish, right? And so individuals that want to work at a port or want to work on the port or provide ongoing services to the port. All of those are opportunities that are there, and it is it's not an age thing, because you can be on your second or third career. You can get this training, transition, and go into a new industry, because these are things that we have not had in our region before. When we talk about carbon sequestration and looking at liquid natural gas pipelines and understanding alternative energy resources and AI manufacturing, all of those things, we did not have that in the past. And so we have to prepare. We have to work with our local K through 12 school education, actually providing these types of opportunities as a skill set in the vision of the children, so that they can know that these are job skills that are there. But even with the smallest training, I'll give you an example. At the Agri-Aquaculture Center, the type of testing that we do on our water is the same water testing equipment that is used for sewer water service. So someone can come to our center, get the training that we provide there in aquaponics, and they can go and work for a city's sewer water treatment facility, because they're working on that same equipment. And so these are transferable skills. The same as if we are looking in industry where people are building, we know there are multiple projects that are being built. So if you are in a construction area that is the first phase of site clearance or testing, geological testing, things of that nature, all of these industries need employees right now.
Right.
There are more contracts coming in Louisiana now than there have been in decades. We have over $60 billion worth of
billion
of economic industry, economic development going on. Much of this, we can hit I-10 and go 30 minutes either direction, and you are at a job. You are at $1 billion.
And it's actually happening. This
Yes.
is not like sometimes they say they're going to build something and it never comes out of the ground.
They are in the ground. We actually had an opportunity. Myself and David did a flyover in the on the Gulf Coast, on the coastal region, and we flew over Venture Global, which is down in Plaquemines Parish. I had not realized that they had gotten that far in the development.
Right.
This facility is beautiful, and they are on time with what they're doing, but they are still in need of businesses. We work with their organization, trying to identify some small businesses that can participate, or local businesses that would be able to provide services. And the other piece of this that I want to say is that's building community, right? So in these areas where these types of developments are coming, they need housing, which means they need restaurants, which means they need schools, they need daycares, they need accountants, they need insurance companies. All of these things will help to just build out more services, consumable services, which are opportunities either for a business expansion or for a business startup.
Yes.
And so this is why we get back to that the granular level for us within small business development, and having people understand, let's start with a firm foundation.
Right.
Understand exactly what you need to do to operate your business, and then connect you. Some of our partners with the state include the Louisiana Workforce Commission.
Yeah.
We just had Secretary Showen participate in our chamber day at the Capitol on Monday, and she shared there's still programs that are there that will help to repay for 6 months of an employee coming in half of their salary, and there's a program that you have to go in and sign for. But if you're wanting to hire someone, there are people that are within the system that are looking for employment that you can have come in and work for you, and there's some assistance to help you with onboarding that employee.
Wow.
So there's really there are really opportunities there for us to be able to expand our business services, to be able to expand the capacity of the business, and then grow the business germanely through just expanding services in a region through the state. The other piece of that is finding partners that may do the same thing that you do.
And you can
joint
work together.
venture.
Right. You can work
Go
together.
after an opportunity and have half of your staff do, half of their staff do it, but you're now building your historical experience, and you can expand your business growth through that development.
I think our biggest issue, particularly, and we both know New Orleans better than anywhere else, but the whole state of Louisiana, is we tend to poor mouth ourselves in Louisiana in a way that I don't see in other states when I visit other places, and I go lots of places. And, you know, people talk themselves down here, and you might be like really successful, and you're like, it's just, it's terrible. But I think that, and sometimes then we don't find out the other stuff, like the information you're giving about what is also available to make us stronger. So as you said, if you have a business and you're trying to develop that business, and then if you have a business that's successful, you can make it even more successful.
Exactly.
But
and
you
there
have
are
to understand there's resources out there.
There are resources there.
And
that
that's
is
what
true.
I want you to talk about.
Yeah, and so there are many valuable resources. Many of the institutions like we're in right now, they have small business centers.
Sure.
Excuse me, small business centers that are there to help with business growth. There are nonprofit organizations that focus on providing these types of services. In addition to that, look, the state of Louisiana has small business services through their LED program. So Louisiana Economic Development Office, Opportunity Louisiana, if you look it up. There are services where they can connect you to individuals that also provide different types of informational sessions.
Yeah.
We know that times are hard, and every bit of profit that's earned, there's a portion of it going back into the business, and you also, you have to pay your bills, right? And so what we're trying to do is to make sure that as we support some of the affiliate chambers that we work with around the state, we pass on to them and to their members the opportunities for them to participate in these classes, but also pass on to them information about these procurement opportunities or accessibility. There's a program that we were working on last year that has a small business credit initiative. That program was actually started under the Biden Harris administration, and it was for small businesses that were looking for venture capital investment. Oftentimes, Black and brown business owners are not the businesses that have that type of investment to come into them.
Yes.
You typically go through your savings and then a friends and family round, and then hopefully the business
Things work out.
will work, and most often it does not, because you fall short of the capital need.
Yeah.
Those types of programs were put in place so that you could either obtain this funding through a venture capital firm that had been provided these funds from the federal government to particularly invest in these types of businesses, or funding that went to some of our local nonprofits and CDFIs, the community development financial institutions, to provide access to these funds with a lower barrier entry and lower interest rate payments in longer terms for them to get access to that funding. So it was in addition to what SBA does with some of their small business lending, and there are other types of organizations that provide these funds. The thing that I think is the most discerning when we come to just trying to figure out the pathway, there's not one area point of access that says, do this first, do this second, do this third, right? Or here are where all of the resources are. Like it's one of the biggest pet peeves that I have.
Search.
You do. And the more time that you can spend getting granular on looking for those types of things, the better success you're going to have with being able to help your business. Since COVID, we have transitioned a lot with automation and having access to these things through online services, right? I would encourage people, and a lot of people that have said they would never use ChatGPT, they're now using ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT, or at least the tool that's along with Google, to ask for different resources that provide something specific for your business. Another tool that's there is asking for the task that you're trying to do for your business. If you want, 10 quick Instagram posts that can help market a landscaping business, it will spit those things out for you, but it'll give you something to kind of think about. If you want to understand how can I better position my business to obtain $500,000 in funding, what are the types of documents and historical proof do I need to have in order to submit this request to a financial institution? How can I build my business? All of those questions, you can place that in and at least have the system be able to give you some outline of what it is. It's computer generated. It's taking all of these answers and books and things that have been fed into it to give you some of the best practices. And what I can share is that historically, we were disenfranchised. We were left out. We were not provided with either the education around it or the information around it. We now have information at our fingertips. And so while we are still battling with things being taken away, there are many things that are still available. And if you can identify what the solution is for the concern and write to the solution, oftentimes you're able to get the funding for it. And I would think that many people, while they hear no first, ask the question why. Ask, how can I make my proposal better? Ask, where exactly did we miss the mark? Is there an opportunity for this coming out again? ask, hey, is this contract going to be renewed, or is it going to be put back out for bid?
Right.
Those are the types of questions that you can go to a procurement person, or you can go to the person that is grading an RFP response and ask those questions so that you can better prepare yourself for the next time, but also understand, hey, what is it that my competitor is being able to provide to you? And let me see exactly what equipment they're using and see if it's something that I need to do with my business so that I can better suit myself to be successful.
And one thing that's very clear is from federal government, state government, local government, whether it's Republican, Democrat, right wing, left wing, whatever, they want to make money and they want their programs to be successful.
Exactly.
So you may say, oh, this funding's being taken away, but like you said, it may be under a different guise. It may be something else. But when a governor says that they're building a plant in Ascension Parish, he wants that plant in Ascension Parish on his watch, or when it comes up, even if it's after his watch, to be successful, so they can point to that and say, this is something that worked. Trust me, you're right. There were times when people were excluded from things just simply because it was a good old boy system, and a lot of things were not even people were aware of.
We weren't privy to.
But now you have fingertip awareness that you can do, and everybody has their phone or whatever. And
Exactly.
you can figure these things out. So those things allow you to actually participate in something that there is still funding for. And I think that you're making a great point about that. The funding may change its name. The program may change its badge of honor. It may say, we don't want to do DEI or whatever, but it still wants to do business. So, I mean,
the way that
you
they're
just write it differently. And,
exactly. The way, unfortunately, this is not the best way to identify inefficiencies and to find solutions.
No.
This is a knee-jerk reaction. We're just gonna, throw everything up in the air, and whatever lands, and whatever, doesn't, right? And so
it's to discourage people more than anything else.
And while there may have been duplicative job duties or things that could have been found to reduce inefficiencies, right now, unfortunately, we are at the whim of the law or the body as the United States not being able to stop a train wreck that's occurring.
Yeah.
And so because we now know that this is the methodology in which is being used, we need to now forearm ourselves with this is how we're going to work through this process. As long as we keep going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning, we live to see another day. And so with that, identifying ways that you can circumvent or prevent or proactively prepare for any impact always helps. I like to share with people all the time. It's much better for you to have multiple different eggs in a basket. Right?
Yes.
Do not put all of what you're doing in one single line. When I used to work with Caesars Entertainment with supplier diversity, I will tell people all the time, if you can provide this for us, go talk to MGM, go talk to Boy Gaming, because those areas, those institutions, they do the same thing that we do.
Right.
I don't care that you're providing them with the same service. As long as as long as you're giving us what we need, please let them. And the funnier part about this is because we were so regulated, we literally talked to each other and said, do you have someone that can do this in this area? Because I want to give them our contract.
Yeah.
Many of the businesses that I helped during that time, I asked that they would expand their services. And so when you're looking at your customer, your client base, understanding that, you can provide these things in a local aspect, but there's nothing stopping you from doing it in a regional aspect. And if you're in one division within an organization, see if there's something that you can provide to the other division within that same organization. Because once you have a contract with them and you are a registered vendor, it's much easier for you to provide multiple services to the same client versus them having to go and find someone else. So those are ways that you can kind of self-sustain your business, particularly during this tumultuous time that we're dealing with right now. But dollars are still being spent.
Absolutely.
The hope should not be lost.
Yes.
They are writing checks still,
Yes.
and they're being cashed.
We're going to take another short break, and we'll be right back. This is a great discussion.
Hey, this is Steve Poston. Be sure to listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday evening at 5 p.m., bringing you the best Southern Soul barroom music with the Southern Soul Weekend Party Mix, hosted by me, of course. I'll be playing your favorite Southern Soul music by artists from all over the South, right here on WBOK 1230 AM or online at WBOK1230.com. The station you listen to longer. Listen to longer. Listen to longer.
Hello, friend. Tavis Smiley here with a special announcement. You can catch my show at a new time. Weekdays from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Same great topics, same great guests, same great conversations, just a little earlier in the day. It's Tavis Smiley, weekdays 1 to 4 p.m. only on WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about.
This is Monica Pierre along with Sally Ann Roberts Daybone, co-host of Your Power is On.
Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. for music that feeds the spirit. Get your Sunday on.
Right here on WBOK 1230 AM and WBOK1230.com, the station you listen to all day long.
I'm Grant Sashera.
And I'm Ro Brown.
Please join us for the Sports Report Wednesdays and Fridays
at 8 p.m. on WBOK.
The Sports Report. WBOK 1230 AM.
New Orleans, are you ready for a voice that says what you're thinking? Who that, you might ask? Arrington Gavin. That's right, I'm your guy, host of the Arrington Gavin Show, giving you so much filled with bold opinions, real conversations, and zero sugarcoating. We're going to be diving into the issues that matter, politics, pop culture, and all the above, unfiltered and unafraid. Catch the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Fridays, right here on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about.
From the East Bank to the West Bank, WBOK is what New Orleans is talking about. WBOK.
The Arnie and Cary Show with Arnie Philco and Cary Grant.
And we are back for our last segment. We're having a great discussion here with Kalisha Garrett, and we're talking about one thing that we both really agree on is that people need to change their outlook on Louisiana and the business environment. We all know that we've had tremendous issues with race and class and all kinds of things, but we also have to start looking at this differently, like you just said about working for some sorts of companies that other pieces of companies and other competitors even can help you with. I mean, people have to realize if I'm providing this to Joe Blow, I could provide it to Jane Doe.
Exactly.
I'm providing the same thing. And I'm doing a good job with them. Maybe I can do a good job with somebody else. And you talked about all the resources that are available, but I wanted to get back to your agricultural side because that is very important. And like you said, about the local aspect.
Absolutely. And so I do want to share, like opening the Agri-Aquaculture Center, one was a very quick turnover. We did a very fast renovation, and I'm now hearing that because of people coming by going, you did this in that quick amount of time, and this is what you guys are doing. But we are now very proud. We have a 10,000 square foot facility in Jefferson Parish in Harvey, and we are producing fresh red and green romaine lettuce.
Wow.
The reasoning behind going after lettuce first, as we were looking at this as an opportunity, we've done some town halls across the state, talked with many farmers, and we're understanding some of the perils of their business and some of the upside. What are some of the opportunities that were there and what they were looking at? And so we started looking into technology and what is the wave of the future with regards to farming and automation and now having tractors that are unmanned and having drones actually go out into the field to tell you where to harvest.
Right. Yes.
The sprinklers, the watering system is all automated. You're getting broadband into these rural areas. So we were really interested in looking at where was all of this going. Louisiana, in Louisiana, agriculture and forestry is second only to oil and gas.
Yeah.
And it really is now leading in production. And so when we start looking at healthy individuals and what it takes for people to amass and assume wealth, right?
Yeah.
In order for you to concentrate in school or at work, you typically need a healthy diet. You don't want to be sick, right? Like sick people have a harder time with getting through their daily obligations, right? And so when we started thinking about health and wealth as a tie-in and looking at our small businesses and how could we start helping businesses in the agricultural space, we looked at hydroponics and aquaponics and started reading more and met with a few individuals and asked them about helping us to design a space because we saw this opportunity and said, hey, what if we were able to create a facility where we could renovate an existing space, utilize a greenhouse that would provide us with 365-day a year operation, where we can do a controlled environment, the climate inside, and also be able to grow on water. Beautiful things about this operation came into fruition once we started building because then we thought about, hey, what about rainwater? Can we harvest our rainwater and use that instead of using the municipal water? And okay, so if we do that, what is that going to do for the production? Right now, our facility itself, we have 4 1,200-gallon tanks where we house our residents, which are bluefin catfish. We have about 3,500 fish that are there.
Oh, wow.
The fish produce their waste. Their waste transforms into nitrates. The nitrates then feed our plants. So that's our fertilizer. And we are currently producing 11,000 heads of lettuce a month.
Wow.
A month. And that is in a horizontal greenhouse with 4 horizontal beds. And there's 7,500-gallon beds, right? What we're looking at right now is an expansion opportunity. We are already on commercial scale. And what we want to do is being on more of an industrial scale. And we want to also start integrating different types of greens and vegetation that we can grow. When people come by to tour the facility, they are amazed actually at looking at it. And we've had more adults than kids because we are working on our program for field trips. But the adults that have come in have turned into kids. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard people say, oh my God, if they taught this when I was in school, I would have paid attention in science, right? And understanding the STEM components of it. We're partners with Dr. Mackey, with STEM NOLA. And in looking at ways for the kids to even understand, you know, the growth in the process. We have a small replica that's 4 by 4, 4 feet by 4 feet wide, so that you can see the entire closed loop system with some goldfish underneath the cabinet there. And then you walk into the nursery, and then you're able to go into the warehouse and see the fish, and then get to the greenhouse. It is a wonderful experience. I do encourage individuals, if they would like to come and tour. It is the Agri-Aquaculture Center of Excellence. We're located in Harvey, Louisiana. 651 Lesson is right around off of Manhattan behind Best Buy. But you can definitely go to the website and see it. But the reason why we are pushing forward with this, I know that many of you all have heard about Make America Healthy Again. And I can say, you know, all things are not bad. And there are some very good components of it, because what we have been conditioning our bodies to is accepting food that tastes like air. And that's because by the time the food has gotten to the grocery store, it has been out of the ground and in a cargo plane or a train or by boat or flown in for over 2 weeks before it gets to a distributor, to then get to the grocery store, to then have you purchase it, to have it go home and go brown in the refrigerator the minute you put it in there. The other piece of this is the pesticides and the things that are sprayed on it, right? We have no pesticides. We have no E. coli opportunity because we're not growing in soil. We are reusing 90% of our water, so we don't have water loss. Once we fill this thing one time, we are literally recycling and cleaning that water out. So these are ways that local communities can put small greenhouses, can turn old dilapidated buildings into production facilities. We're in the process of having conversations with some of our school organizations and our universities about MOU opportunities to work with them to get the students into internship opportunities and having them understand hydroponics and aquaponics and agriculture and farming in general. We can lead with food production, but we can also increase the opportunities for fresh food coming right out of our own backyard. We have cattle farmers that are right here in Plaquemine, in Gretna, that came over. We had a round table. Congressman Carter came to the facility 2 weeks ago, and we had a round table with some of our local producers. We have vendors that are on the side of the highway in Louisiana. These vendors can sell. They have a license to sell fresh produce that's grown in Louisiana on the side of the highway. Pull over and support them. Because when I went to the store today, after the tumultuous rainstorm, I'm literally looking on the shelf and I see shrimp from Indonesia. And I understand now why people are having conversations around. We have a lot of water surrounding us. We have shrimpers. We have people who fish. We have oyster beds. We have access to agriculture. We have row crops. We produce corn and soybean and crawfish. We can buy local. And if we buy local, those dollars are staying in our communities.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kalisha, for being here. There's plenty more meat on this bone.
Absolutely.
And we'll get a chance to get to that soon. Thank you so much for being here today. We've had a great conversation. This is the Let's Elevate Arnie and Cary show. We'll be back next week with a new show, and everybody have a good evening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
WBOK online.